Hi readers, today is a day where we're going to be reviewing but also getting started with our next unit. So I am here on our Schoology site, so I'm going to walk through that real quick. Your assignment will be to first watch a video to learn about poetry. I'll get to that in a minute. Then you're going to work on a Google slide that shows the figurative language that we have been talking about. We did it over our e-learning, and we also talked about it the week before break. So this is a good review to be working on when I'm having a guest teacher today. And then your third step is to do your book it and practice your vocabulary words for the test tomorrow, and also to do your reading and your SOC. So you've got lots of steps to do, and you're watching the video right now, which is our overview. So let me tell you a little bit about what our next unit's going to be. Poetry is one of my favorite units because we get to talk about what poetry means to people. Lots of people enjoy poetry. Poetry is one form of writing and reading that is used in a lot of different times. So poetry can be used to celebrate something like a graduation party or a wedding or like for a birthday present. And poetry can be used as a way to remember people. I remember when I had a grandparent die, and I wrote a poem for them at the funeral. My husband actually read the poem, and that poem meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to my mom, and it meant a lot to my grandma, because it was for my grandpa. And it helped me a little bit so that way I could feel better about the funeral and all that stuff. So we're going to start with this book. It's called Poetry Matters. And this is one of Ralph Fletcher's books. You can tell that it is very well loved. I have marked a lot of things in here that I like to think about when I think about poetry. And I know a lot of teachers will ask you to memorize poems. They'll ask you to write poems. They'll ask you to name what kind of poem it is. So there's a lot of different ways to look at poetry. What we're going to do is look first at structure. How do you create a poem? So this intro poetry introduction is going to talk about three main things. I don't know if this is going to be, hopefully it's not going to be backwards when you're looking at it. Let me look and see if I can. Nope, I can't flip it. So rhyme and rhythm, alliteration. We know what alliteration is. That's when you have a phrase like a tongue twister. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, and they all start with the same letter. Those are all P's. And then the alliteration makes the line in the poem sound fun. It sounds interesting, almost like a song. There's a rhythm to it. So rhythm and alliteration and rhyme all go together, and we're going to talk about those three things and more next week. One thing to notice when you go into your figurative language, you will have a poem. Look at these two reference pages. When I come on Friday, I'm going to get you a copy of the elements of poetry, and we're going to talk a lot more about these different parts, so that way you will know what a stanza is, what a line is, what mood is, rhyme, meter, repetition, and we already know theme. And so that's going to be our next step to focus on. This is also a reference page to remind you of what figurative language is, the different parts that are in it. Let me see if I can fix something here because I'm not really liking this one. Yeah, I'm going to copy this in. So what I don't like, if you'll notice, here it just gives an example, whereas this one tells you the definition. So I'm going to actually delete that off. And now you will see when you open yours up, it has that a simile is comparing two things using like or as, a metaphor is comparing two things, and photobomb. But when you're comparing in both of these, metaphors do not use like or as, and similes do. I think Cedric wants to teach the lesson. Maybe? What do you think?
No.
You want to teach the lesson?
No.
Okay. He doesn't want to, so maybe he won't come back now. All right, so onomatopoeia is when a word makes a sound like splash or boom or kapow, and then a hyperbole is an exaggeration. Maybe on my video, I will actually have to give consequences to my son. All right, everybody pull it together. Focus. Here we go. So hyperbole is an exaggeration. You say, I'm so hungry that I could eat a horse. Well, you're not really going to eat a horse, but you just are stretching out what you are meaning to make it seem like it's a whole lot worse than what it is. And then personification is when you give human qualities to non-living things. So like leaves waving, coffee mug smiling, those kinds of things. So those are all examples of our figurative language that you could find in your poems. And we've done this before. We actually had these before spring break. All right, so your poem is Rise and Shine. And it's a longer one, but it's a funny one. So a lot of the structures that we talked about with poetry are represented here. And we went through and talked about the elements. We're going to talk more about those on Friday, but there's figurative language throughout your poem as well. So let's read through your poem. Rise and shine. The foghorn went off, blasting in my ear. And again, remember, we've got different kinds of figurative language that are exaggerating things or comparing things or giving us sound words or making things that are non-living act like humans. And so watch for those as we're listening to our poem. So the foghorn went off, blasting in my ear. I lay there for an eternity, not wanting to go anywhere. Finally, I decided it just had to be. I had to pull the elephant off from on top of me. It wasn't really an elephant. What happens when you're like tired and you don't want to get out of bed? It feels like there's an elephant on you. So what kind of figurative language did they use here? I tried and tried, failing miserably. All of a sudden, the noise was blaring again, stinging my ears like an obnoxious bee. A lifetime went by. I just couldn't move. I knew Mom would barge in shortly, and she certainly would not approve. I forced myself finally to plant my tree trunks on the floor. That's it. I am done. I have no energy left for more. I sat and I sat, as still as a rock. I didn't dare look at the clock. This is it. You can do it, I said in my head. Just stand up and you'll be officially out of bed. Just as I had predicted before, Mom now came flying through my bedroom door. Let's go, she commanded, and in a loud lion's roar, I struggled to my feet. My body wouldn't let me move. Waking up at this ridiculous hour, I simply did not approve. As I stumbled into the bathroom, leaving the comforts of my bed, I said to my dog, it's going to be a long week ahead. So this is your poem, Rise and Shine. And your next slide is to answer questions about it. So remember before break when we did this, there were these crayons here. So when you are answering the question, you need to go back to the text and highlight the place where you found your answer by highlighting the text and then using this highlighter tool to use the color that the question has of the crayon. So first one is, what noise is the author referring to when he says the foghorn went off? Is it A, a car horn, B, the alarm clock, C, the author's mom woke him or her up, or D, the author's mom blew a horn to wake him or her up? So you type A, B, C, or D, but then you have to go back to the text and highlight the lines where it talks about the foghorn going off, and then you want to highlight that in that red color. So that way you can tell that one is where I found my evidence for my first answer. Second question is, which of the following is an example of hyperbole in the poem? And remember, if you don't remember what hyperbole is, come back up here. Oh, that's an exaggeration. So this will help you to remember what those things are. And then you're going to use the orange crayon to find the hyperbole that was in the text and highlight it there. This third question says, give 2 examples of similes the author uses. What is the author comparing? So remember, similes are comparing 2 things using like or as. So you're going to go up into the text. You're going to use that color, what was it? Yellow. And you're going to find the 2 similes. And you're going to type them here. So you're going to highlight them in the text, and then you're going to type the similes here. And then, oh, sorry. 2 examples of similes the author uses. Type the simile and then tell me what they're comparing. So if I say it was as soft as a pillow, we're comparing whatever it is. So like my purse, I guess, I don't know, I'm grabbing things randomly. My purse is as soft as a pillow. So I would type in, my purse is as soft as a pillow. And then I would say this is comparing my purse to a pillow. Okay, so those are the 2 things that we're comparing. But then I would also find it up here in the text and highlight it. That's not in the text, so that was something I just made up. So I'm going to go delete that. But it has to be from the poem. Look for 2 similes and tell me what those are comparing and highlight them in yellow in the text. And then the last one is, how does the author's use of figurative language contribute to the mood of the poem? So mood is if it makes you feel happy or sad, or if it has a feeling of maybe regret, like you wish you had something different, or maybe you're just kind of sleepy or mopey. What's the mood of the poem? Use at least 2 examples of figurative language from the poem to support your answer. So if there's a line here that makes you think that maybe the character is super, super excited, then you would highlight that with your green crayon, and then you would type that figurative language down here to support. So the first thing you would say is, the mood of the poem is, and give me how is the character feeling? When you read the poem, how are they feeling? Like dreadful? Are they motivated? Not motivated? Are they overwhelmed? Think about the poem and all the words that go in there and say what the mood is, and then give me examples. So for example, one of these lines, where is it? I have no energy left for more. That I would highlight in green, and then I would use that as an example to say the mood was something. I'm not going to tell you because I want you to think about it yourself, and then tell me that the line made you think of that mood. So use complete sentences, complete thoughts, be clear in what you're thinking. And that's it for your poem. And you're going to go back to your next part, which is in your Thursday folder. It's Thursday today. And you're going to finish up your Meteors reading practice with your practicing your vocab and read into your SOC.